Okay, this is part 3 of a Q&A. I'm going to post parts 1 and 2 in the description, and we'll just jump in. So first question, what does life look like as a pro bass player? How can someone transition to becoming pro? So first up, we should clarify, by pro bass player, do you mean professional quality, or do you mean professional in the sense that you're making your living as a bass player? And I should clarify for you, I currently am not a professional bass player. I played bass full-time for 10 years, and I hurt my hand really bad a few years ago. And I don't want to go too much into that right now, but basically I decided to pull back from playing music full-time. So nowadays I work in the film industry. I do sound for movies. And that's how I make most of my income, and I do music on the side. So I'm not a full-time bass player right now, but I've done it. And I can tell you it's tough. It's really tough. You have to be very ambitious, very self-motivated, and you have to be willing to adapt and pivot and figure things out. I don't want to discourage you from doing it, but I also don't want to glamorize it or romanticize it. It's a very difficult life. You do sacrifice a lot of things. You probably will not make a lot of money. It can be done, but it's very competitive. There's not a lot of job security. You might be stressed about where your next gig is. You might have to do a lot of things. It might be, a lot of full-time musicians, they have to teach and play in a wedding band and play at churches and play for artists and do a little bit of everything. You give up your weekends a lot of times. You can't do things on Fridays or Saturdays or Sundays with family because you have to go work. But you can do it. And I don't want to tell you not to, but I just want to be honest with you and tell you it's a challenging lifestyle, and it's not for everybody. And also, I don't think you need to play music full-time to do it well. I know some amazing musicians that are not full-time. And I also don't think you need to do it full-time to enjoy it. Actually, I would say the last couple of years, I'm enjoying music more than I was when I was doing it full-time, because the pressure of having to make ends meet with it has been removed from me, and I'm able to be selective with the music that I want to play and the people that I want to play music with, and I find myself finding more joy and more creativity in music than I did, but also I don't spend as much time doing it as I used to, so it's a trade-off. So it's not for everybody. It might be for you, but I will tell you, if you decide to do it, it's not an easy path. So maybe we can talk more about that at some point, but that's what it's like. When did you start playing? Why bass? I started playing bass when I think I got a bass it was either my 15th or 16th birthday. I think it was my 15th birthday. My parents got me the little Rumble pack. It was a Squier P bass and a little Fender amp that was like a 10-inch speaker. And I remember noticing the bass for the first time and hearing that low rumble and seeing someone play bass. And I remember hearing a bass line and noticing a bass line and just loving the way it sounded and being like, I want to do that. So my parents were really supportive. Got me my first bass and some bass lessons, and I loved it. How do you figure out what tone sounds good in a mix versus soloed? Great question. Getting some basic recording skills is going to be great for you. That's something you really need to start doing if you don't already, because you'll be able to play back and listen to yourself and learn a lot that way. I will say, in general, if something has more high frequency information, more saturation, more harmonic content, it's going to have more traction in the mix. So something that might sound harsher or brighter in the context by itself, when you hear it with the band, it's going to sound clearer, and you'll be able to hear the pitch a little better. Also, if you have something that's more compressed by itself, you might not like the way the compression sounds, but then when you bring it up in the context of the mix, it's going to feel more consistent, and it's not going to disappear when you play quieter or louder. In my opinion, it's much more important to sound good with the band than by yourself. So record it and listen back to it isolated, and with the ensemble. Okay, last question for today, and this is the end of the Q&A. It's been a lot of fun. If you enjoyed this, please consider subscribing. The last question for today, your approach on stage presence. This is a big one. It's one that we don't talk enough about. Try to memorize the music to the point that you don't have to read charts or anything like that, where you can have the music in your head and you can have it in your muscle memory in your hands, to where you don't have to be looking at your hands or looking at a paper. And what that's going to do is it's going to free up your eyes and your face to be able to connect with your other band members or people in the audience. When I'm playing bass, I am almost always making eye contact with someone. And maybe that's uncomfortable for you, but I'm always connecting with the band members. I'm watching the drummer, I'm watching their hi-hat, I'm watching their body language, I'm watching the guitar player. I'm feeding off of what everyone else is doing and reacting to it. And seeing people is going to help you anticipate what they're about to do, and it's going to help you to connect with what they're doing. And visually, it's way more fun for the crowd if they see band members that are looking at each other and connecting with each other rather than just looking at their feet or looking at their pedal board. So keep your head up and look at the band members, and also look out at people in the audience. I'm always looking out, and I'm looking for who's feeling the music, and I'm looking for who's going to the person that's dancing, or the person that's like really feeling that is excited to be there, and I'll try to make eye contact with that person, and just for a moment, just give them a nod. And I think people in the crowd really appreciate feeling like they're there at a live show because they want to connect with live music, and having just a moment where they connect with someone on stage can be a cool thing if you're in the crowd. Even if you play the exact same way, people are going to enjoy the show more, and that'll make them think you sound better. So eye contact, confidence, body language, and those things will go a long way.